It's 11:11. Make a wish.
Welcome to Hacking Hypermobility Podcast.
I'm Luna.
And I'm Shelli.
And we're two bendy mamas.
Hacking Hypermobility.
Let's meet. Okay. Hi, and welcome to another edition of Hacking Hypermobility's Help I'm Alive series. Today's episode is I. I is for intersectionality. Intersectionality is also known as intersectional theory. It's the study of how overlapping or intersecting social identities, particularly those minority identities, relate to systems and structures of oppression, domination, or discrimination. It was a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989, I believe. Today's episode is kind of weird because I get to refer to UVA twice in one episode. So I don't know if y'all know this, but I have an undergraduate degree in anthropology at the University of Virginia, and I graduated in 99. That's where I first learned about intersectional theory in some of my women's studies and feminist theory courses. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. But also, Tiffany's got a little news update that mentions UVA as well. So how fun is that? Anyway, I personally like to think of a Venn diagram when I think of my own personal layers of intersectionality. I'm a woman, I'm autistic, I'm atheist, I'm a parent, disabled. I'm sure there's a few more that are kind of niche that I can't think of at the moment. Also, hi, here on the Hacking Hypermobility podcast, we share our lived experiences. We're not doctors. We don't proclaim to be doctors. We're just sharing our lived experiences, what worked for us, and what may work for you as a fellow bendy bestie. Do us a favor. Follow us on social media. Leave a review. Leave a comment. Send us an email.
Hi, Tiffany here with your Zebra News update for the week. News. UVA has announced they are opening a new EDS clinic. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Okay, so they've officially announced it. They are going to be opening it sometime late 2025, early 2026. That's the schedule. It's going to be run by Dr. Dacre Knight, who is currently the medical director of the EDS clinic for the Mayo Clinic. He's going to be overseeing the care for the adult patients. And then Dr. Ina Stevens is going to continue the pediatric side because they do have like a connective tissue clinic, but for pediatrics. And I don't think it's all encompassing is what this clinic's going to be or what their website says. Don't hold it against me if it's not. But according to their website, it looks like this is going to be a national comprehensive program for connective tissue disorders for both adults and for pediatrics. So essentially what that means is if you are within a few hours of UVA, which is their medical campus is in Charlottesville, Virginia. So if you're within a few hours of that, they will coordinate all of your care for you at UVA. But if you're further away, so we actually currently go to UVA for my daughter's feet. It's about a 3-hour drive both ways. It's doable. It's exhausting, but it's 3 hours and I'm down for it if we can get good care. Like I'm totally willing to drive. So what it sounds like they're going to do is if you are further away and maybe cannot make the trip or make multiple trips, I don't know what their setup's going to be, but they will create a care plan. They'll develop a care plan that works with you and your local physicians. So I'm hoping that means like they'll work with whatever your local care team looks like so that you're still going to get the benefits from it. Hopefully that's what I'm getting from what they said on their website. So essentially you're going to see, it says you're either going to see Dr. Knight or Dr. Stevens, depending on if you're an adult or a kid. They're also going to have access to genetic counselors. So genetic specialists, physical therapists, a psychologist to help with pain management. And I'm really hoping that the psychologist will also probably help with, I don't know, past medical traumas and, everything that we know we have to go through to get this diagnosis. So, and then also they're going to have other specialists related to all of those pesky comorbidities that we have, depending on the patient's current care needs. So if you don't need to go to cardiology, you don't have to. So it sounds like it's exactly what I was hoping would happen, where it's an actual comprehensive clinic, because I've heard from other people that have gone to other clinics. I want to say, don't quote me on this, I want to say there's 15 EDS clinics in the US and maybe like 18 globally. I could have those wrong, but I've heard from people that have gone to other EDS clinics, and it was, from what I've heard, not what we thought it was going to be. And it was very much like a big excitement and hope for a big letdown. Like it was like, you're bendy, drink water and go to PT. So I'm sure that there are some that are great, but I've heard from quite a few different ones where it was like, what was the point of that? So I'm really, really hoping that this is what we need. And then also really hoping that they get a more staff, because it looks to me like you're going to either see one of the two. If you're an adult, you would see Dr. Knight. The wait list is going to be insane, I'm sure. They don't also, by the way, mention anything as far as how to get on a wait list, when they're going to start accepting new patients, what we can do to start get the referrals in the works. So just bear that in mind. As of right now, it doesn't say anything as far as registering to become a patient at the clinic, or what their protocols are going to be for accepting patients, because I don't know if it's going to be such a high demand thing that it's going to be, like a triage situation. I don't know. So as soon as I find out more information, I will pass that along. I'm hoping to get into that clinic because that sounds amazing. So if I do, I can let everyone know what happens. And I'm not expecting this to happen anytime within the next couple of years. So we'll see. But that's that big, big excitement news. The other big thing is the EDS Society, their 2025 Community Experience Survey is now open. If you remember, a few months ago, we mentioned it. This is going to be brought to when they do the Road to 2026. This is feedback from the community about our experience and what we would like to see changed, and also just certain things about living with it. So I'm going to put a little thing where you can link to it, but that way, if you have to be part of the DICE global registry already. So if you're already in that, check your email, because you would have received an email invitation link to go fill out the survey. And if not, you can still register. You would just go to the EDS Society's website, go to the research, go down to 2025, and then I'll link it there. But you can still do it. So I highly recommend, if you have a few moments. It took me like 20 minutes, but I had a lot to say, because I had a couple points of just frustration. It probably just took, and also I talk too much. So it probably took me a lot longer than it would take you. And by all means, you don't have to write a book like I did on every single question. But at least it's something, and that they have some data, and it's a way for you to have your voice heard, for the new classification that's coming up soon. I know a lot of people were frustrated with 2017 classification and criteria, and then same with the pediatrics when that came out. So again, this is just your chance to put in your input on the matter, not, we'll see what it can do. So that's it. That's your zebra news. That's all I got right now. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more happening, but it's been a bit of a crazy week. So I hope everyone's having a wonderful week. I look forward to speaking with you all very soon, and have a good day. Bye.
Hey, it's Luna to lighten it up today. Have you ever looked down at your hands and thought, damn, I have spider fingers? Yeah, me too. It's called arachnodactyly, which sounds like a spell you'd cast to climb a wall at Hogwarts, but it's just a medical term for these joints are everywhere and none of them are behaving. People like us with hypermobile hands don't leave fingerprints often, but we have elephant paw tracks on our finger joints. And for Pride Month, can we just talk about how gay hands are just hypermobile hands that wrist flick That's not flamboyant, it's a subluxation. I'm not being sassy, I'm dislocating with flair. We're not limp wristed, we're just ligamentally loose and living our truth. And while we're on it, all those T-Rex arm jokes you make about us autistic folks, yeah, those aren't because we're part dinosaur and that's our special interest. That's just wrist hypermobility in self-protective mode. My arms aren't short. I'm just trying to keep my joints from filing a workers' comp claim. So next time you see someone waving like a noodle or typing like a horror movie spider demon, just remember, they're not being dramatic. Well, maybe a little. They're being connective tissue deficient and possibly a little gay. Happy Pride Month.
Okay, so I did not set out to have one surgery in 2024, let alone 3. But as I mentioned in last week's or the last episode, I had on a finger brace when I went to my 6-week follow-up for my hip. And it was bothering me, but I also did that intentionally to like draw attention to my finger while we were having the follow-up. Disclosure, I took a little bit of a tolerance break last week. You're wondering if 7 days is a decent enough time to take a break before you have some? Yes. So if I'm a little high right now, but it's helping me tolerate this car ride because Alec and I are driving to the beach right now and he has his mic on, but he's probably not going to talk unless I ask him to remind me of a word. Or if he wants to tell me something funny to look at, right? Anyway. All right. So I had the finger brace on and he asked me about how my hip was feeling, and my hip was feeling great. It was my fingers that were still troublesome. And so I asked him for a recommendation for a hand surgeon. Well, he said he knew 3. And I said, well, tell me the best one of those 3. And so he gave me the referral. And the great thing, I mentioned this again in last episode, but if you didn't listen, first of all, why didn't you listen? But secondly, if you didn't listen, here is what happened. So while I was at my 6-week follow-up, his office called over to Dr. Jones's office and actually made a consult for me. And so I left my 6-week hip follow-up feeling great about my outcomes from my hip, and then also looking forward to finding potentially some relief for what was going on with my fingers. And so that was it was like a week and a half later, 2 weeks, not even. So we went to that appointment and it was great. The PA walked in first, kind of, get the lowdown of why you're here. And she, touched, and by the way, I did not have any imaging. The only imaging I'd had on my hands in recent times I can think of is when I had, and I think it was just from overuse, but I had like a little cyst built up in one of the joints in my pinky, and it was a hard lump and I couldn't knit or do anything. And so I got an X-ray and an MRI and they were just like, sorry, it's not anything that we care to do anything about. And then when actually that was before I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos also. But I've just had the different hypermobility assessments and strength assessments, and the hypermobility assessment was like super up there and the strength assessment was way in the shitter. Like I'm strength at one time. I haven't looked at it in a while, but maybe if I remember, I'm on vacation now, so I don't actually know if I'll go back to post this, but it is something I do want to eventually do. For all of what I'm sharing is actually all of the things I've mentioned, to actually post my imaging or whatever the test results say. But shit, I just lost track of my point. Oh, yeah. So my grip strength is worse than your average 75-year-old woman. And that was an assessment done when I was like 46. So I cannot imagine. Well, maybe my grip will be better now that my fingers are fixed. But so had the consult without any imaging about these trigger finger issues that I was having. So then Dr. Jones came in, we chatted, and he was like, I remember leaving that appointment like, what just happened? Because he mentioned how easy the surgery was, how short it was.
and that most people are fine with just getting like a local anesthetic. Well, when I mentioned that I burned through locals and topicals pretty quickly, they were like, oh, no problem, we'll just put you under. And I was like, really? For a 10, like I was actually second guessing, like, really? Are you sure you want to do that? And for like a 10-minute thing or not even? And he was like, yes. So that was a new experience. So I left feeling great after that. And we scheduled the right hand one for December 1st, or no, December 2nd. And then I was trying to definitely get them both scheduled before the end of the calendar year, just because I had met my deductible. And it was basically not that I wanted like, yay, free surgery, but also, yay, free surgery. So at one point, I didn't hear back from them. Like we had the December 2nd one scheduled. And then eventually they followed up and they're like, oh, hey, did you want that second one? And I was like, if you can get me December 12th, or there's like a 3-day window that would have worked, because after my surgery, I knew I was going to be house and cat sitting at my mom's for 3 weeks. So that was the other issue. And then honestly, if we hadn't had it work out in 2024 I probably wouldn't have done my left hand. But then now my left hip. So then who knows what the, I guess, whatever. My body wants me to be symmetrical. And yes, I am going to ask Dr. Petrie to make my stitches symmetrical. But anyway, so I ended up getting them both scheduled. What was different from the hand surgeries versus the hip? Well, the time was different. It's a quick surgery. So, they don't need to schedule me first thing in the morning, because that's when they want to have the time for like the, more intense, longer surgeries. That's my assumption. That's just how I would schedule things. I would be a person that you could call in and just kind of squeeze in when you got 10 to 15 minutes, right? So that's my theory. I don't remember what time I reported. It was like 1 o'clock or whatever time it was.
Sounds right.
I was a cranky bitch because I was getting put under, and with that is no food or beverages after midnight. And then they were like, no water. Like they were really strict on that. And I defied them in a way, because if I get dehydrated, it would send me into an autonomic episode. And that would probably flag me to not have the surgery at all, because they would think it was something that it wasn't, even though I don't know about what would have happened, but I was cranky. But so I don't like that. I like trying to time it, like as soon as I get there, like get an IV in me. But we managed to get through that. So let's see. I brought my own socks, my own grippy socks, because they have compression. So I had grippy compression socks at my own. They're much cuter than what they give you. And so I had those, and there was no issue with that. They insisted I take a pregnancy test, even though I knew I wasn't. But I figured, okay, fine, I'll take this one. But like, I'm definitely not going to have them take another one on the 12th. Spoiler alert, yes, I did. But anyway, so I peed in the cup, and then they got me in I changed, and then I asked for you to be brought back. And shortly after that,
It's pretty quick.
yeah, they got me the IV. So that IV went in, I think she got me in one stick. You never watch that, or do you start to watch it and don't watch it?
I just don't watch the IVs.
Yeah. So with the first hand surgery, they got me my IV in one stick, and that IV was going to be obviously in my left arm, because my right hand was being operated on. Dr. Jones came in. We talked about my finger. He put his initials on my hand. I have some pictures of that. Flicked everybody off for good measure.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
Let's see what else. And then the anesthesiologist came in, asked me some questions. I told them that I typically get barfy after anesthesia. So they went ahead and included some Reglan, I think was what was given to me in my IV, along with my fluids, so that I would not be feeling a little barfy when I came out of anesthesia. They also knew to really keep track of my blood pressure and my heart rate. let's see. So that was really fast, that surgery. I mean, we came out. I remember I was able to move. I have some video and pictures that I'll include, but it was swollen and yucky for the local. I don't remember getting extra drugs, but just the big boy ibuprofens. Yeah. So I didn't get, and I rarely take like if I'm taking ibuprofen, like I'll take it like if I took it for a few days, but then I don't it messes with my stomach too much. So I don't like to take it, but I do like to keep the big boy ibuprofens on hand. It's nice to have like 800 milligrams in one pop rather than digging out 4 pills, because like 800 is typically, well, usually it's 600 is what I start with to actually get any relief. And I remember like the next day or two was like there was no cast. It was just like I had stitches, and then it was wrapped with some gauze, and then like the compression bandage. And one of the things that did happen is the way that the bandage was wrapped ended up rubbing on my skin to where I ended up with a blister, and that was not enjoyable. And so when I went in for my second surgery, I made mention of that so that they were careful to wrap it differently so that it didn't get a blister. And I did not. Thank you for listening. Let's see. But yeah, it's like I felt like, I didn't have a full range of motion, but they definitely wanted you, as soon as you felt comfortable, just do as much as you can that you can tolerate. And so just as often as I fidget, and if you've watched any of my videos on TikTok, you see how much I move. I was just doing this, whatever little grip motions I could do to, work on my mobility. Okay, so here's what was different with the second surgery. So the stitches, let me talk about the stitches. So the stitches on my right hand, what is that bird? Hold on. Is that a turkey vulture or an eagle? That's a juvenile eagle.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I figured when I went back for the second surgery, he would be inspecting the stitches on my right hand. They had scheduled a follow-up appointment for me to have the stitches on my left hand taken out like on December 27th or something, but we were going to be out of town. So we ended up having to get those stitches out. I feel like it was like a week. It was like 7 days. I felt like it was a little sooner than they might have preferred. However, after what they probably saw after 10 days with what happened with my other hand, my skin had started to actually grow over the stitches again. And I almost at one point was going to just pull the stitches out myself because I was itching and I was worried that it didn't look infected or gross. I don't know. So the skin on my palm had started growing over my stitches on my right hand. And so Dr. Jones took those stitches out while I was under getting my left hand done. I have some theories about why I was so more bitchy. I mean, the nurse and I had our own issues, but
the nurse was a dumbass.
Well, yes. So the nurse I had for my second surgery, we didn't vibe at first. And there's a few reasons for that. I don't think it was because he was a dude necessarily, but I just felt like he wasn't listening to, like, he just was, and it could just be because he wanted to like check everything he had to do and check his boxes. So like, I need to think about it from that perspective also. But I was like, hello, like I literally was here 10 days ago. I'm right-handed. This is my bandaged right hand. I'm telling you, I don't need to take a pregnancy test. He's fixed. I'm fixed. And there was no sex. So like, anyway. And he was insistent. And I just was so, also I didn't have to pee either. So that was making me mad too. Because then I was feeling anxiety. And you would think, oh, but you're anxious. Wouldn't that trigger you to pee? Not in my situation. It just makes me super angry at this guy. So finally I go pee and you have to write your initials on the cup. And I wrote my initials. And then I also wrote not being pregnant on it. And then after I wrote that, I immediately regretted that. But what was I going to do? Like scratch it out and be like, just kidding. Like I only had one cup. I could anyway. So I had to like face that. So I did right when I walked out. I was like, yeah, I wrote you a note, whatever. He didn't like that. But so I also had my preferred compression grippy socks. I was wearing them and he was like, you need to change into these. And I'm like, no, these are okay. And he's like, well, I need to check. And I'm like, no, I wore these 10 days ago when I was here for this other surgery. And they said it was fine. He's like, well, I wasn't here then. And I'm like, my God, dude. I was like, well, can you ask? And he was like, yeah, blah, 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 ask. And so I was not, if you've put on compression socks that go up to your knees, you don't want to be fucking with those a lot. So I was not taking off my socks until I was like basically instructed to do so. And but at this time, Alec is still in the waiting room. So this guy and I are not having a great interaction. Like, and to be fair, I shot first when he was like, right when he took me back, I was like, you're going to make me pee. And I did. I came at him with the sass. But back to my theory of my attitude, thinking about 10 days after where I was before, I was thinking about, because I do still have my ovaries, I do still fluctuate. I think I might have been in a bitchier place in my cycle where I'm more dysregulated more easily. Bitch ass nurses who want to argue with me are not going to win. So the discussion about the socks continues, and he went to go, I think he wanted to go get were you there when my IV was started or not? I can't remember. Because this guy also did not get my IV in one stick. And I have some gnarly bruise pictures to show y'all. Whether or not you were there for the IV is what. So he went to go do something else. And I kind of he mentioned something again about the socks to me. And I was like, trying to be like, I was very clear. I was like, I'm not going to change until I have to. And he's like, well, I'm telling you, you have to. And I'm like, right, but you said you were going to go check with someone else and you have not done that. Have you checked with that person? And then he immediately was like, look, if you don't want to have this surgery today. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, whoa, like, let's back up. Where did that come from? Oh, I was like, let's take a minute. I'm autistic. I'm very dysregulated right now. Please go get my husband. Like, you need to go get my husband right now. And literally, when you came in, your eyes went, "Argh," like you're immediately. And I was like, can you just explain to this gentleman that I will change these socks? I'm not trying to fight him. He just needs to understand. I was just asking him if he had asked the person yet about it. Like, I wasn't being like, hurry up, MFR. Like, I was just trying to get information. Like, I need all the information. And then once we kind of got that resolved and you were in there, everything was fine after that. So anyway, he came in, the doctor came in, marked my hand on my left side this time. We talked about the stitches on my right. He took those out. I didn't have any issues. The 10 days was definitely enough time between the two surgeries. Like, I didn't feel like I made a poor decision. It would have been a poor decision to do them at the same time, which is what we discussed last week with Tiffany and her bilateral carpal tunnel surgery. So that was on December 12th. I had that surgery. I'm pretty sure. I think we went and had my stitches taken out on either the 19th or the 20th. I think it was the 19th. I think it was like 1 week later because, yeah, it was 1 week later because like schools and stuff were closing for the holidays and they weren't going to be in the office. So when I got those stitches out, I have video.
Hi, I'm about to play a video of my stitches being removed. It's about 1 minute and 38 seconds long. So if you don't want to watch that or listen to the audio, just skip ahead 1 minute and 38-ish seconds. Okay, bye.
I talk about medical trauma a lot, so. Let me know if I need to move my thumbs, just kind of doing phone. Yeah, we're actually trying to figure out what we're going to do because I was just looking at all of our analytics and we have across our 3 accounts, it's 2 of us and then our podcast account. We have about 40,000 followers on TikTok across the 3 of us.
Well, that's really cool.
It is, except if they ban TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Like we have a presence on other platforms. It's just a lot smaller. And we talk about medical trauma and being autistic and having a chronic illness, and those topics don't always get pushed out.
Yeah.
Onto the outside.
Related
Yep.
again. Sting.
I'm used to some degree of pain. Anyway,
Just got the little bandage on there. These
Yeah.
are steri
the little
strips.
steri strips.
These will probably fall off.
Yeah.
because of, like,
Location. I've been keeping a compression glove on it to kind of, because it is in that weird place.
Thank you.
Are those blueberries?
Yes. Blueberry, raspberries, pomegranate.
Are you gonna do color? Or are you gonna keep it with that outline?
I don't like color.
No, that's
That didn't feel great, but and I was a little concerned about what they looked like, but I just kept some special bandages on it because I didn't want to end up in the situation where the stitches were overgrown like they were before. It happened quickly. So between, I guess, 7 days and 10 days, or it could have been a whole cycle situation too, thinking back, who knows? But yeah, I did have a different experience between the two surgeries. And the only difference I can pinpoint is the gender difference
It was the nurse.
because everything else was fine. And so that happened, got those stitches out, and I knitted on the drive down to my mom's house on Christmas Day. I was knitting in the car. Things have been great ever since. I am having some issues with my thumb now that I do not enjoy. I subluxed it the other day. The swelling has gone down, but the pain has now kind of gone further down my thumb joint into whatever this big one is here. So that's annoying. But I pretty much live in some kind of compression. And I also have a special thumb brace somewhere. Nope, that's a face mask. Mask up, people. Anyway, I have a thumb brace I've been wearing off and on. I pretty much have like an orthopedic mini store at my house. Anyway, that's the end of what happened with my fingers. Do you have anything you want to say?
It was definitely the nurse.
Or
I don't think it was the fact that he was a guy. It was just bad bedside manner.
well, I even was trying to be. Oh, hi, hi. Okay, whoa, this is cool. I don't know what's going on here. These people just. I don't like it.
Yeah.
We're not blocking the box. It's that truck. It's the truck, dude. You suck. I don't like the color of that car. All right, I'm gonna stop recording now. Okay, bye.
All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Next episode, we have something really exciting for you. Whatever could it be? Well, whatever it is, it begins with J. Until then, stay safe out there and keep living your best bendy batty life. Bye. I don't like any of this script. No, really. Bye.